Scott McMullen, Josh Davidsburg. Please introduce your family, Mr. Josh.
Yeah, I'm here with my daughter, Ione. She's in her bouncer. If you hear any bouncing or music, she's 8 months old. And yeah, so
Cool.
here
What's her
in
middle name? Does she have a middle name?
Leah.
Leah. Very cool.
Yes.
Very cool. Now, how's Alicia doing?
She's good. She's busy. She's in the other room working from home. She's the health reporter down here, so
Oh
it's
my
been pretty
God.
crazy. Yeah.
Now, is she physically going anywhere, or what's
No,
her
she's
stat?
working from our bedroom.
Okay. Because I see some of the pictures of like the news media. They're like, maybe they're going out and taking pictures of like, the streets that are just completely empty right now. It's very like,
Well, with
not,
TV
yeah.
reporters, you have to be out to get the video and get the sound. So, it's essential that they get out to tell this story. And newspaper photographers, it's the same thing. They have like a set of guidelines that they have to follow to make sure everybody's safe, but they have to get out to get the story.
Yeah. So is news media considered? I know you're down in Virginia now, but I know you're also a professor in Maryland. Is news media considered essential? There was just a order issued by Governor Hogan in Maryland, kind of saying these professions were essential, these professions were non-essential. Do you have any? Did you hear about that order, and what are your
Yes.
thoughts on that?
Oh, it is essential. I mean, it's protected by the First Amendment. I think it's the only profession that's protected by the First Amendment. So it absolutely is essential, and it's essential that these reporters are able to get to where they need to get to tell the story. They have to do it safely, but at the same time, they have to be there, and it helps that everybody else is staying home too.
Now, yeah, you said that safely. Do you know if the reporters out there across the nation, Virginia, Maryland, or wherever, are they getting the proper masks? I mean, are they being safe when they see this, or have you heard of any reporters getting COVID-19?
Well, there was the NBC photographer who died of it. If you watched NBC News nightly news a couple days ago, they talked about him, but he actually died of it. I haven't heard of a bunch of reporters getting it. Some of the political reporters in DC have talked about it, and there was actually a conference, an investigative reporters conference in New Orleans back. I guess it would be kind of before everything started, where somebody had tested positive. But most of the reporters I know are being incredibly safe. They're staying home when they can. They're working out of their homes. Normally, newsrooms are big, busy places where reporters kind of share ideas and talk about what they're working on and talk about sources and try and figure out how to do things together. And they can't do that anymore. I mean, everybody's working from home or working out of the news truck or doing what they can. I know some photographers that are editing from home, but they still have to go out and get the video. There's a reporters group on Facebook where everybody kind of talks and shares ideas, and
Okay.
people are building basically like boom poles for their microphones. So taking a broom handle, attaching a mic holder at the end of it, and that's how they're doing the social distancing.
Oh wow, interesting. Huh. Hey,
Do you
how's
hear
she? Yes, I can hear her. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Now, the question I always have, and I don't know if when you talked about the NBC News journalist, is how, like, did he or she contract COVID-19 while, traveling, or I'm hearing about all these people contracting the virus, but I'm not hearing about like where they were or how they contracted it, or,
Well,
is there
network
any?
reporters do a lot of they do a lot of traveling. I mean, there's a saying in network news that you make a lot of money in network and you pay a lot of money in alimony. The divorce rate is high because there's so much travel in network news,
Uh-huh.
and I who knows how he contracted it, but network news reporters do a lot of traveling. Obviously, they're not doing a lot of traveling right now.
Hmm.
I do have former students who are working for national news organizations, and they're working out of their homes right now. They cover politics, and one of them is doing live shots from her roof.
Live shots from her roofs.
Yes,
Okay, interesting. And where's her roof located then?
she lives in DC.
DC. So she has sort of the DC background when
Oh
she's doing
yeah,
the live shoots. Okay.
yeah.
Wow. It's just incredible. I mean, it's incredible what's I know also know a lot of like news media is sort of they're self-employed. Not everyone is salary based. Sometimes it's project based. Is the news media getting more sort of that self-employed independent contractor group? Are they getting more gigs from this? I mean, I know no one's really
Uh,
doing better because of this, but are they getting more gigs from this, or is it less gigs, or
I would venture to say I don't have like data in front of me, but I would venture to say less, just
Mhm.
because this is the only story. There's only one story right now. I mean, there's
Yeah.
probably more jobs about this, but for the most part, my guess is probably less. I mean, it's hurting like everybody else. And the thing about news is it lives on advertising. So, um, you know, right now it's getting hit hard just like everybody else. But the thing about businesses that rely on advertising is it takes longer for them to bounce back because that like uh, economic window where money starts flowing again, it
Mhm.
first has to flow to the retail businesses and the businesses that buy the advertising, and then
Ah,
to the adver.
yes. Yes. Yeah,
So
okay.
it took TV and newspapers never completely recovered from 2008.
Hmm.
TV definitely recovered, but newspapers never recovered from 2008.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a bunch of other issues as well, like blogs and the internet, social media, and all that kind of stuff in general. Um,
Where are the eyeballs, right? Everyone's home right now. Everyone's, watching screens or they're reading or watching or listening right now. Where are the eyeballs right now for media?
well, news always sees a spike in disasters. If you look at 9/11 or any like hurricane or anything like that, what's the first thing you turn on? You turn on
Mhm.
your either local news or national news.
Mhm.
Um, we've been watching
Does like the local newspapers, do they see a spike in readership, or is there any data to that, or
Yeah, I mean, everybody's looking for information. Everybody wants to know
yeah,
what's going on. Uh,
yeah,
Hopefully, everybody wants to look beyond the memes. So
yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
only agree.
that's kind of scary that you have like these memes out there. I know one I was looking at. You look on Facebook and you have this meme that's saying like you gargle salt water and that's going to prevent coronavirus. And there's people that I find that are fairly legitimate, people. They're sharing this as if it's
Right.
true, and it's
Yeah,
it's not.
it's
So
not. No, I
that
mean,
that's
you really like doctors. Listen to the doctors. The media is going to the doctors. The media is putting doctors on TV. Listen to those doctors.
yeah.
Every national news organization has a you know, a chief medical correspondent, and that's the person you should be listening to. That
Mm.
and Dr. Fauci, right?
Yep, yep, yep. And so it's for this type of thing, you're saying who we should listen to, these chief correspondents. Um, you know, eh, eh, what have what kind of stories have things have some news outlets jumped on something or too early with this, or how overall has the news media covered this virus? Has there been any sort of like people reacting to a rumor really quick and then publishing as if it's true, like in a big news outlet? Has there been anything like that when it comes to this virus?
I personally haven't seen any instances of that. I think overall the national media has covered this pretty well. I think some people complain that the media has instilled a panic, but I think that panic was warranted, and we're seeing more and
Mm,
more, that this is not something to take lightly. I think
mm,
some of the local TV stations are. have a habit of sensationalizing some teases and promotions and that kind of stuff. And this is not the time to do that. You know, you want to give people proper information without instilling fear, even though like the proper information can instill fear. You know, but there's a difference. So that's the only thing that I've seen. I think overall, the media has done a pretty good job. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it has done an overall a good job, and I think they're, especially when it comes to the president, they're really, asking the right questions when the right questions need to be asked. They're asking
Right.
the tough question. I think that's important. Whether or not he's agreeable to that or not, you can't just put a smiley face on all this stuff. It's not reality. So I
Right.
think that the media is, from what I've seen, they've done a good job when it comes to that. Let me ask you that, as far as your kids, I mean, you're a professor. I'm saying kids, young adults, at Maryland. Are you teaching right now? What are you doing, and how are you doing it, if so?
So last week was spring break. So we still took a spring break, time off, while they basically gave us a week, and then they gave us an extra week to prepare to teach remotely. So we've got 2 weeks to kind of prepare our classes to go online, and we go online next week. But everybody's teaching remotely. I mean, it's interesting. Like my classes are really tough. I had really had to think them through because I teach video production, and video production, you got to have the equipment, and people have to go out and shoot video, but I can't give them either one. Like they're not allowed to take the equipment out of the equipment desk, right, at school,
Mm.
and I can't send them out to talk to people. So I have to get pretty creative. And yes, they all have cell phones and they can all do video, but I really have to teach them how to use professional equipment, because when they get out to a TV station, they're not going to be shooting on their cell phones. Maybe a little bit, but for the most part, they're not going to be shooting on their cell phones. And so that's been probably the toughest part for me. But I have a friend who teaches ballet, to students who are kind of up and coming, and she had to take her whole class online. And so her husband basically like cleared out a space in their living room, set up like all these cameras and set up lights, and she's got like a little ballet studio, and she's teaching over Zoom like everybody else.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
so neat.
Yeah.
The one profession that's pretty solid right now is Meredith, my partner. She's a therapist, and she
Oh yeah.
everyone's pretty, since a lot of people are, at home, as they should be, away from, stopping the spread. People are at home. They're worried about this uncertainty in their future, and they're stressed out. They're stressed out economically. They're stressed out because they're of the uncertainty, instability, all that fun stuff. And they're also taking care of their kids, and the kids, as they should be, are kind of ignorant. Ignorance is bliss. They don't know really what's going on, so they're juggling a lot of hats, and they need to talk to somebody. And so Meredith, who's a therapist, she's getting a lot of like Zoom meetings, and a lot of people are really comfortable with doing this, like doing video chat to get therapy or something like that. So she hasn't really seen a drop off. I'm a court attorney. I'm a trial attorney, so the courts need to be open for me to work. So I
They
always thought, as a lawyer, what was that?
set those up virtually yet?
No, well, we do have, there's some emergency. They have like bail review hearings, and there's some stuff, but it really only applies to like public defenders and just like a certain subset of right now. But they did set up. Judge Barbera just set up something that allows for more virtual hearings, but it's all slowed down. But yeah, for at least a week there was no court hearing. So I always thought I'd be a lawyer, and lawyers always thought it was like a recession-proof
Right.
job, except for when you can't actually go to a courthouse.
Right.
That's economically a little sketchy. So there's still a lot of uncertainty.
It'll be interesting to see what goes back to face after all this kind of clears up.
Yeah.
Because with therapy, like we were already seeing a bunch of companies pop up that did virtual therapy sessions,
Mm-hmm.
and same with doctor's visits, right? Like,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, we had a therapy, we had a not a therapy, we had a virtual doctor's visit for Eve. Just because it's like she had sniffles and all that stuff, and the doctor said just take 2 Claritin, but we spoke over video. So you're right. It's like what's going to be the new normal after hopefully this dies down. And frankly, people are saying now what I'm reading on the news is this is going to be like the flu. And so it's going to end up just being a yearly thing. And it's going to go down as far as mortality goes, but it's going to be out there as common as like flu strains.
like
Um,
H1N1.
H1N1, yeah. So it's going to be sort of out there. It's just going to be in less a degree. So it's sort of like just how we handle it. So,
Right.
but yeah, so it just should be interesting the new normal. What is done over online and what's not. How are we going to shake hands anymore? That's my question. Are we going to
I
shake hands?
I think we'll get back to that. I think, while I don't think we'll go back to 100% normal, I think we'll get back to like a normal way of life. Kind of like if you think about after 9/11, like that changed the way we lived, but we still got to like a new normal after that. Like, you
Mhm.
know, I think this is going to be similar. Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I agree to a certain degree, but like 9/11, as horrible as it was, only really affected a lot of people saw it and were affected emotionally by it, but it was really the 5 or 6 thousand people there. This is a worldwide pandemic, so it should just be interesting to see how things change. If are we gonna are
Right.
our church our churches going to be more popular?
The restrictions and the fear that we felt after 9/11, everybody
Yeah.
everybody felt that.
True. True. No, I agree. I agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's sort of like are people going to be more religious now after this? Thinking, I don't know. Are we going to see an uptick in church services, temple
Virtual,
services, or anything like this?
virtual
Um,
church services.
yeah, yeah. So it's just interesting. We're always talking about there would be we're due for some sort of economic recession, but. Um, I don't know. Not to this degree, I don't think. So who
Right.
knows? And who knows, how we're going to bounce back economically from this? If it's going to be a lot of money sort of right away, or if it's going to be a slow build up again, or whatnot. But I
Right.
think I think we'll bounce back. It just depends on how fast,
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I mean, the elections have been really interesting to kind of watch and see how that affects the primaries, and who knows if they're going to have a convention this summer. And
oh yeah, jeez.
yeah.
Yeah, geez. Yeah, what are some of the things that come to your mind as a reporter, how this is going to affect, just reporting in general, just
Um,
practically.
I think so. One of the most optimistic things that I read was that this will help kind of bring the country together. Beyond the left-right divide that we've been seeing, the polarization that we've been seeing.
Yeah.
We've been dealing with a ton of blame the media.
Mm,
So I don't know. Maybe this will show that how important we really are, um,
mm,
and that maybe that's a overly optimistic view, but that
yeah.
would be nice. We're out there risking our lives too, and the reporters that I know, they are doing it as safely as possible. They are going out, they're doing their job, and then they're self isolating when they're not working, when they're
Mm,
not reporting.
mm.
And a lot of them are reporting from home too.
Yeah. Do you think we could have saw this and prevented it? I mean, did you see the Bill Gates TED Talk?
I did not. No.
You
I mean, I
should.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to point fingers. But I mean, he
Well, I'm not
kind of
saying
like,
point per. I mean,
yeah.
it's if you look at. So I'll give you a preview of what the Bill Gates TED Talk is. It's basically saying that he's saying, well, the biggest fear we don't have to fear. Our biggest fear isn't necessarily a war or a nuclear war or whatever. Our biggest fear is a virus. And then he goes in and says a worldwide pandemic is our biggest fear. And this was 5 years ago, I think his TED Talk
Oh
was.
wow.
And almost to a T, it take away the whatever he was calling it just like the generic virus or something like that. Other than that, it's almost lockstep and parallel to what actually is happening, you know. So at least somebody was thinking about this, but again, it was we didn't necessarily take the steps to prevent it, or maybe we
We,
couldn't
yeah,
prevent it.
we didn't take the step. We couldn't have prevented it. I think we could have controlled it a lot better,
Yeah.
but we did not take the steps. And one of that's like going back to that polarization, right? And it's a polarization of the media as well. There's half of the media, maybe more than half of the media, but like half of the journalists. Yeah, how am I going to pitch this? So, I mean, Fox News was really downplaying it when they should have been kind of sounding the alarm the same way that other TV networks and newspapers were doing, and that I think that causes a big problem. Because as a journalist, as a TV reporter, my goal is the truth, right? It's not my truth, it's not your truth, it's the truth, and to try and get as close as possible, even if it doesn't agree with my politics. I try and get as close to the truth as possible, and every reporter I know does the same thing. That's what they care about vehemently. They don't care about politics. I mean, they care about politics, but they don't let that get into their reporting.
Should reporters have a political affiliation?
Um, so I'm kind of split on this, right? There are a lot of academics who say yes, and there are a lot of academics who say no. Um, I think in Maryland we're kind of forced to, right? Like you have to have a political affiliation in order to vote in the primary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if I were a little better, I would switch my affiliation every year just to kind of keep it even. But generally, I think reporters, for the most part, try and stay as balanced and down the middle, maybe not down the middle, but towards truth as possible, right? Um, so, despite whatever their political affiliation is, most reporters, the thing they care about most is the truth.
Mm. Yeah. Well, thank you, Josh. Do you have anything to say? Anything else to say? What do we
Yeah.
got here? What's your coffee cup say?
Oh,
Rad life, dad life.
Rad,
Nice.
yeah. It
I thought
used
it
to
said.
say Rad Life, and then about 8 months ago, I switched it out for the Dad Life. Some of my
Yeah.
students gave me that when
What's a bigger change for you, being a dad or going through this coronavirus?
going through the coronavirus. I mean, well, both,
Yeah. Huh.
but both on top of each other have been tough because
Yeah.
our daycare is actually still operating, but we
Oh,
don't want to take
wow.
care right now, and I'm home, so I should be here with her. It'll
Yeah.
be interesting next week when I start teaching.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
watch these days? So this
What
is
am I?
like, let's talk a little pop culture. How does that sound?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. What am I watching? So I was watching, Netflix was telling me and some other people to watch Better Call Saul. So
Yeah, of course it
I'm
was
like,
telling. It's
I
like
watched.
lawyer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think, yeah, they must know the algorithm of what I watch, and then they shove that down my throat. But I think it's also like I'm seeing like social media posts on some other people saying that they're watching it too. So I think a lot of people are watching that. I think a lot of people watch the Mark Wahlberg Spencer Files Confidential.
Oh, how was that? You watch that?
It was solid. It was sort of like a Netflix movie. You kind of felt like a little cheaper, but it was still pretty solid, fun action movie.
Yeah.
Um,
Those not Netflix movies are kind of like
Yeah, tell
weird.
me about that. I can kind of like feel that they're done like a little bit more on the budget. Is that fair to say?
I don't know about on the budget. Like Netflix has a lot of money to spend,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I mean, one thing that they do is they give the filmmaker a lot more control. And so
okay,
if you get somebody like Michael Bay, like Six Underground, you
yeah,
get complete total Bayhem, right?
yeah.
Like, did you watch Six Underground?
I didn't. I started it. What is it good? It was sort of like one of the. It's a Michael Bay movie, which I'm sort of like. I'm a little back and forth with the quality. He do like Pearl Harbor? Like they're like these big movies that are sort of like a little iffy.
I mean, he's like the culmination uh, of summer blockbuster schlock, right? Like it all
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
and like if you want to just watch something kind of stupid and
mindless. Yeah,
mindless, then it's a good watch. Like, maybe not a good watch. It's like an entertaining watch. You know,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say it's good because it's not,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's like
You
the
know what I liked? Yeah, I don't know if
biggest
it's
movie
Michael
ever made.
Bay, Triple Frontier. I kind of like that one. Did you
Was
see
that Michael
that?
Bay?
I don't know if it was, but it was sort of what's his Ben Affleck was in it, and they're like these ex SEALs, and
Yeah,
they
no,
go
I
into
did watch that.
contract. I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty solid. I think it was a little different, had a little bit of a different plot. I thought that was fun.
Okay, so here's the thing about the Netflix movies, and I don't know, I'm just kind of speculating right now,
Yeah.
but I think there's less kind of corporate oversight. You know, when you watch something from Disney, it goes through so many people that it could get super vanilla because
Yeah.
of that, where the Netflix movies can kind of get a little out of control and like not make sense sometimes.
Yeah.
And I thought like that movie with Ben Affleck was good, but I thought it didn't really have an idea of like it couldn't figure out what it wanted to be, right?
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. So I
Yeah,
just I appreciated that it had some action in it, but it also had like a little bit of a different plot. And I thought because some of these, these cop movies, these drug movies have kind of followed the same sort of like, hero conquest plot, and you sort of know what's coming, and it's just predictable. And so yeah, I thought it was like it was disorganized, but it was like it was disorganized in me in a different way, which I appreciated.
yeah. I thought it kind of went in like it could have been like three different movies basically. It
Yeah,
like went in three different
yeah,
directions. Where
yeah, yeah,
maybe if they were under the actual like production company like Paramount uh, Paramount umbrella or something like that, then it would have it would have had a little more focus, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. What are some other movies, Netflix, or it's and a lot of people are saying Netflix is doomed because you got Disney Plus now, and you got Amazon Prime just came out with free kids movies because of this, all this stuff, and then also the
Because of
the
this whole
movie
thing,
theater movies are now on Amazon, right?
right? But it also got a big shot of steroids with everybody
Yeah,
being home and looking.
yeah,
What do we want right now? We want
yeah.
content, right?
Yeah.
And
So their percentage, their what's it called? Market percentage might have gone down, but the market's gotten a lot bigger. Let's say
right,
maybe that's it. Yeah.
exactly. Well, and another interesting thing that we could see. So there's this thing called the Paramount Decrees, right? Which basically said that uh, movie production companies that the studios couldn't own movie theaters, right? So it was like antitrust, right? So it used to be like way back in the day, you would go see like a Universal movie at a Universal movie theater, right? So um, there was this thing called the Paramount Decrees, right? Uh, but just recently, in the past year, the feds did away with the Paramount Decrees. So now Disney, Netflix, Hulu, Universal will all be able to buy and own movie theaters,
Oh
which
wow.
yeah, which is going to like completely shake up the landscape. And then you've got this on top of it where people aren't going to the movie theaters right now. And so the chains that buy everybody's movies are hurting.
Mm.
And so I don't know how that's all going to shake out, but that could be interesting. And it could be a real shame because I think the people that are really going to get hurt by this are not the Universals and definitely not the Disneys, but somebody like A24 Neon, right? Like Neon was the distributor that found Parasite and gave us Parasite, right? A24 gave us a ton of stuff. Gave us Moonlight, Midsommar, like a bunch, like all over the map, right? All of the really good movies from the past couple years have been like A24 Neon and smaller distributors, Annapurna, right? Those are the
What
people
are,
who are
what kind of movies came from those distributors?
So Neon was the one that's on the top of my head is Parasite. Neon gave us Parasite, right? A24 has given us everything um, from Moonlight, Florida Project, um, that Jonah Hill movie that came out, the eighth grade, the other movie Eighth Grade, like that, like kind of bigger independent movies, the ones that win Academy Awards or at least get nominated for an Academy Awards, so we'll end up with a lot more Green Books and a lot less Parasites.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Huh? Yeah.
I would definitely recommend Parasite too if you haven't. Have you seen it?
No, that Paris is that.
So good.
What one's that about? That's about. Did that win the Oscar? Was that the one that won
Academy Award? Yeah,
Academy Award? Yeah.
It's Bong Joon-ho. He.
I heard it was very the cinematography was amazing. They had like a lot of like how you'd look at a scene was sort of the story too.
Absolutely. I mean, he's incredible. Like, so he actually the film festival where he premiered in the U.S. was Slam Dance, the same one that we screened.
What do you mean by we? We is the Queen of the Capitol.
Queen of the Capitol. Yep.
Yeah.
What episode was that we talked about it?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't have these memorized?
I don't have these memorized. I'm sorry, my friend.
Yeah, so it was the same film festival that where we screened Queen of the Capitol, which is my documentary about a government bureaucrat by day, drag queen by night. So our drag queen is incredibly busy right now because she works for the Department of Labor, and so she handles state unemployment.
Oh, geez.
And state unemployment laws, and so everybody's going to her.
Yeah.
For changes, all the changes that are just working nonstop.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, definitely, I recommend like all of the Bong Joon-ho movies that I've seen. I recommend, but Parasite is fantastic.
Yeah.
I've also been watching Hunters on Amazon Prime. Have you seen that?
No, I want to know about Hunters, but I know in the theaters, which is now on Amazon Prime, it's the movie called The Hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Have not. No.
Okay,
I'm not a huge horror fan movie.
Okay. So you did not like I want to talk about Hunters, but did you see what's the famous Elliot what's this guy's name?
Hostel.
Hostel. Yeah. Hostel. You
Actually,
didn't dig those? You never saw it because you just hate those movies?
I don't mind horror movies.
Yeah.
Like the slasher movies. I really don't like the torture porn movies. Like Saw and Hostel.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, Saw sort of has like there's twists in it. I don't like the horror aspect of it, but kind of sometimes, especially the first Saw, there's sort of like it's almost like an escape room, but it's a horror escape room. That's what.
Right. It's like you have to take a key out of somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, so tell me about Hunters. What's Hunters about?
So Hunters is on Amazon Prime, and it is basically about Nazi hunters in the 70s. It's really good. I don't want to give too much of it away. Al Pacino's in it.
Oh, wow.
It's his first.
I thought he was like retired or something like that.
No. I mean, he was in The Irishman.
I know that, but I thought that was like one of his last. They were like, he's coming out of retirement. He's going to do The Irishman. And then I guess he's still cranking.
And if you look at his IMDb, he's been working nonstop. It's just he hasn't been doing great movies.
Well, I think Robert De Niro, I knew since he went through an ugly divorce, was sort of like, I need to do these crappy movies. Then there's like a famous telephone, rant by him, and he's yelling at his ex-wife now, I think, that it's like, oh, if I didn't have to go through, I wouldn't have to do these crappy movies to pay for all this and stuff like this. And that to me was why in my mind, why I'm seeing Robert De Niro show up in some, lower level movies. But of course he was in The Joker and The Irishman and some higher level movies too. Right. But I always thought Al Pacino was sort of...
Once Upon a Time in... Al Pacino was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well.
I've not seen that one.
Oh, that's a great one. That is top 3 in my favorite Tarantino movies.
Really? Well, who were your other top 2?
Tarantino, I would Pulp Fiction, obviously, and Inglourious Bastards.
Okay. Those are my top. That's not Tarantino.
Yes, it is.
Oh, Inglourious
Bastards. Yeah.
That's Tarantino?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, then the guy that does Hostel is in that too. He's in it, but he didn't do it. Okay. Okay. That's where I confused. I thought he did. I thought the guy that did Hostel did Inglourious Bastards, but it's Tarantino.
No.
Yeah.
He's in it, but he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So
Yeah.
Hunter, okay. All right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Hunters. Um, Top Chef is back on if you want something mindless and fun. Top Chef is
I
a lot.
haven't seen Top Chef in like the last like 5 or 6 seasons.
It's
I don't know
something
why.
to put on and like
Yeah.
not pay attention to.
We were watching Chopped last night. We watched the Chopped episode last night
Oh
on
yeah,
Hulu. Yeah, that's always sort of like a mindless thing for us.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that, right? Like
Oh
some
yeah.
good reality.
Oh yeah, and this is what it's about. And this is you're right. This is going to because of this virus, this sort of mindless, vicarious, take me away TV should have a an uptick. Um,
Right.
yeah.
Another kind of mindless one that I'll just throw on and is Brockmire. Have you heard of Brockmire? This is a
No.
gem. Okay, so Brockmire's
Okay.
on IFC, right? It's a little
Okay.
raunchy. It's really raunchy.
Okay.
It's Hank Azaria, who voiced a bunch of
Yeah.
Simpsons characters,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
plays a play-by-play guy, a baseball play-by-play guy, who has like a mental breakdown on the air
Mm-hmm.
and gets fired and has to go to like the middle of nowhere to start his career back up again.
Okay.
Uh, it's really funny. It's really
Okay.
raunchy. It's not for everybody, but it's hilarious. It's
Okay.
really good, and it's just coming back too. So all of the episodes are on Hulu,
Yeah.
and it's back on IFC. I think they're on like episode 2 or 3.
Let me ask you this. I know Netflix was doing this sort of like the choose your own adventure
Oh
uh,
yeah,
things. They had a movie. They had like
the Black Mirror
a
movie.
Black Mirror movie. They also had Bear Grylls sort of had like a choose your own adventure, and you'd like tell him, okay, either go kill the snake or take this path, or and you'd get those choices. And I did them all, and I thought they're really neat. I've always thought that this would be sort of the next thing in TV is this interactivity, but it's not. It doesn't feel like it's taken off. And why
I
is
think people
that?
want to be more entertained.
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
takes a lot of work. You
yeah,
know, countless more hours to produce something like that than it
yeah.
does
Okay.
to produce a regular TV show.
Yeah,
And then also people have to like sit and really pay attention and
yeah.
um, kind of work. It takes a little bit of work to watch one of those
It's
things.
also not perfect. It's sort of like there's like a lag time between when you pick and it chooses for you. There's sort of like that delay in loading up that used to be like an hour like 20 years ago, and then now it's like we get annoyed if we have to wait 2 seconds.
It's kind of like VR and 3D, VR and AR, right?
Yeah,
VR is like virtual reality, amazing concept, but it
yeah,
takes work, right?
yeah.
Like if you've ever played a VR game, you're exhausted after you play it,
Sure,
right?
sure.
But if you're
Yeah,
sitting
yeah,
on your couch playing a video game, it's a little more
yeah,
relaxed. I
yeah.
love VR, and I think there's going to be a place for it,
Mm.
but I don't think we're there yet, just because the amount of work it takes to do it.
Hmm. And yeah, and that's another sort of industry out there that's probably going to see an uptick is the video gaming industry. I haven't really been following this as much, but I'm aware that video games has been for a little bit here just a huge industry of people playing these sort of interactive video games. Like, is it like Fortnite's the big one? I see it in the Annapolis Mall has a Fortnite retail spot where you can go in and play Fortnite. And I don't really know what it is, but I don't know, like, how do you see this virus? I mean, I see it just exploding that industry even further.
Oh yeah.
Video games, yeah.
Well,
So,
video games are a way to be social,
hmm,
but still keep your distance, right? Because
yeah,
everybody now
yeah,
plays online. It's not like
yeah,
the video games we grew up with, but also the age of the average video gamer has
mm,
ballooned, right? Because we all
okay,
grew up. We got our Nintendos
yeah,
when we were kids. We got our Sega
sure.
Genesises, Sega Genesises, and
Yeah,
we've grown up, right?
yeah,
And there are video games for everybody now. Like whatever you want, there's probably a
yeah,
video game. You can sit on your computer, play a video game. You can sit
yeah,
on your phone and play a video game. Like the
yeah.
things that you buy for your phone, those little
The apps,
casino. Yeah,
yeah,
those are video games. You're playing video
yeah,
games. That's what you
yeah.
do. You know,
What are the
you
big?
don't
Is
have
it
to
the
buy an Xbox
Switch?
or a Switch.
Is it
Yeah,
this? Those are the big ones right now. Xbox and Switch.
Xbox, Switch, and PlayStation 4 are kind of like the big ones. And I have an Xbox and I've got a Switch, and they're both a lot of fun. The
Yeah.
Xbox is a little more, I would say, like a little more gamery, and the Switch is a little more like fun, kind of
Yeah.
old school Nintendo.
Yeah.
Uh, the Switch is great because it's really easy. You pull it out of the
Mm.
console. It's like this little handheld
Yeah.
video game system.
So you can
But
play the Switch on your TV and have it in your hand. Is
yeah, and
that
all
what
you have
it
to do is
is?
slip it into the holder, and it switches to the TV.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Cool. That's been out for a while now. I've just been ignorant to it. That's fun.
yeah.
Huh. What are
It's
the
a
big what are the big games for those? What are the big interactive games that
um,
might people are going to be socializing on or playing with each other?
Mario Kart is always fun for the Switch.
Yeah.
Mario Kart's still around. Uh,
Wow.
the Xbox is a little more kind of like you got your first person shooters and all that kind
Yeah.
of stuff on the Xbox.
Mm.
Um, but if anybody's looking for something fun to do with their
Yeah.
family, um, there was a game back when we were younger in the 90s called You Don't Know Jack. Did you ever play You Don't Know Jack on the computer?
I remember that. That wasn't on a TV
That
too,
was like
or
a little game show type thing
yeah, yeah,
on the cover. So in the past few years, that company has come out with games for computer console. I think you can get it on your Google, the Google whatever streaming stick, maybe a Fire Stick. I'm not sure, but they're called Jackbox games. And you pull it up on your TV, and then everybody pulls out their phone and logs onto
mm,
the website that it shows. And then it's all types of games from like trivia to kind of like their own version of Balderdash
mm.
to version of Pictionary. And then if you have Zoom, you can stream it over Zoom and play with people remotely. You know, if you buy it on your
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me. Well, Josh, let me ask you. Just mention this, and we can kind of close it out here. But what you used to one of the first times I met you, and I've talked about this before on prior episodes, is through this group called Tweetmasters, which was in
yeah,
Annapolis. And you all should organize a Tweetmaster over video chat. That
oh,
would be
that's a
kind of cool.
great idea. I'll
Yeah,
talk to Gina about
you guys
it.
should do that. That would be really
Yeah,
fun.
you know,
So
Gene is the tweet master. So
yes,
that was his
yes.
thing. Yeah, we'll talk to him. That'll be a lot of fun.
Well, very good. Well, thanks so much, Josh, for coming on. Do you have anything else to say? I appreciate it, man. Good talking to you. It's been
Yeah,
fun.
good talking to you. Yeah,
All right. Tell
find
Alicia I
me
said
on
hello.
social media
Yeah,
at
find Jay Davidsburg.
J Davidsburg or Lot One Films if you want to follow us. Follow the documentary. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram as well. J Davidsburg. J Davidsburg
Awesome.
one on Instagram.
All right, Dad Life. I'll let you do your dad thing now.
All right. Yeah, I'm getting called. All
All
right.
right. I'll see you
Talk to you later.
later. Bye.
Bye.
So